tournaments, and some of you don't. Before I start on the formal thing I was going to say, I will say that one of the things you learn when you're a trial lawyer is pretty much the same thing you learn when if you try to be a vaudeville comedian, which is never follow the child act. And the young man who stood up here, two people before, all I can say is, Sherman, thank you for his buffering, because I don't know how I would have gotten. I have a particular task, and it's a remarkable pleasure for me to discharge that task. My job is to introduce you to one of the first chess players that genuinely terrified me. Did then, and still does, and his name is John Brooks, and he's going to receive the first Harold Steen Hall of Fame award. And because he is so much older than I am, there you go. He's 2 years older than I am, less than a couple months. I'm the only person in the Detroit chess community who's still walking and remembers him. Well, that's not quite true. Okay. Enough silliness. John's mother started a club called Not the Knights. Many of you who know something about City of Detroit chess know that a ferocious club was known as the Knights. And it's a club that included people like John Brooks and Morgan Everett and Dexter Thompson. These are fabled names in our history of chess. And John was one of them. But before they were the Knights that played in the Metropolitan League, they were the Knights of the Round Table. And the difference is worth thinking about. What was John's mother trying to communicate to her teenage son as he set out into the world of competitive chess? What was she communicating to the people who joined with him? People you may not know, but I'm going to tell you something. Lauren Monroe was in that club. Lauren Monroe was older even than John or I. He became the treasurer of the state of Michigan and served in that position honorably for many years. Who else was in that club? Jeff Richburg was in that club. Jeff Richburg is a player I remember a little bit. Jeff's older as well. And Jeff became a principal of a school, I think a high school in the Lansing area, middle school or high school. And then there was a fellow by the name of Ed Littlejohn. Ed Littlejohn, there's a beautiful woman over there in the corner who just nodded. That beautiful woman is my wife, whose name is Iris Lopez. And Iris is a lawyer. And Iris had Ed Littlejohn as a professor at Wayne State University. This was the tradition that John's mother fostered by creating the Knights of the Round Table. And I can tell you, as a fourth forward on a very, very good team, that there were only two teams our club worried about. And one team was the Kingsmen, which we nicked once. John's club, I don't think, ever quite nicked them, but we had one remarkable year, and we beat that club. And the other club we worried about was the Knights. And there's nobody else in the Metro League we had to worry about. And there was good reason for it. We were good. And they were good. And I think they worried about us too. And they, for those of you who know anything about Michigan chess, state champion Chuck Bassett was a member of that club. He was not our first board. This was a very, very good club. So, John's mother creates the Knights of the Round Table. Not the Knights of the Round Table. The Knights of the Round Table were the most accomplished, the most noble, the most reliable, the most decent, the most virtuous, the most memorable, the most important of all the Knights. John's mother knew something about setting the bar high. And look what accomplished. Look what the Knights accomplished. Look what the Knights, not only in the Metro League, but look what the Knights of the Round Table, the very first iteration of that club, accomplished. Most of them played chess in one way or another well into their adulthood. But only one of them was always in chess, was always the beating heart of chess in Detroit, was always the person who could be counted on to go to any elementary school, any high school, any tournament, any training, any time, and that was your honoree, John Brooks. Let me tell you another story about my friend. And this one it's true, but I'm not going to name the other guy. It's not important that you name the other guy. John was at a tournament with a master of considerable strength, and a young player came up to that master and asked that master to go over the game with him. And the master said, "How much are you going to pay me?" And the young man was heartbroken. What do you think John Brooks did? In front of his friend who had just behaved like that in front of a child, John said, "Bring me your squishy. Let's look at this game. Anytime, anywhere, any kid could count on John Brooks." We all know it's true, don't we? Yes, we do. All right. I'm going to formally introduce him in a minute. You had with you, just a couple minutes ago, State Representative Phil Kaufman and State Senator Coleman Young. They only read a part of this. I'm not going to read all of it, but I do want to read some of the stuff they left out. They left me something. Founded by Detroit native Kevin Fite in 2003, the Detroit City Chess Club is making a positive difference in the lives of children in Southeast Michigan. Southeast Michigan. Thinkers Challenge. They did their homework. The impact of your impact reaches beyond. Just like your lives will reach beyond, this club's impact reaches beyond. His impact reaches beyond. Chess is not just a fun game used for idle amusement. It's educational as well. It helps create and strengthen several valuable qualities of the mind useful in the course of life, which help youth achieve academic excellence. The overall success of the Detroit City Chess Club and its members has been noticed by the family of Michigan Chess Hall of Fame inductee Harold Steen, also known as the godfather of Detroit scholastic chess. Mr. Steen's family has agreed to allow the Detroit City Chess Club to create and award the Harold Steen Hall of Fame Award. Well, signed by State Representative Philip Kavanaugh and State Senator Coleman Young, and bearing the seal, the official seal of the Michigan House of Representatives. Your work, your lives, your impact has reached to Lansing. And I know these guys well enough, one of the joys of doing what I do, to know that there's a difference between coming before a crowd and tap dancing for them, and coming before a crowd and speaking to you because you move them. You move them. And you should know that, and you should remember that. Well, does John Brooks deserve this award? Has John Brooks given of himself every day in a way that we all count on, that we rely on? Has he, as Ed Mandel said in the book, has he inspired every single master and expert that he generated from Detroit to strive for that goal? We all know that he has. Has he, as Grandmaster Sergei Kudrin notes in this book, been a stalwart? He has. Has he, many of you remember Grandmaster Kudrin at your assignment, right? You remember International Master Martha Fierro? Well, what does Martha say? It's in this book. I know you're going to read it, but I'm going to, since I've got the podium, I'm going to read it for you. I remember well my visits with the Detroit City Chess Club and the simultaneous exhibitions I played with club members at the Detroit Downtown Library and the Detroit Institute of Arts. I congratulate all the honorees of today's event, all of them. And note with particular happiness that the DCCC is inducting John Brooks into the Hall of Fame. I remember John's passion for chess and having played several games against him, his outstanding skill at blitz. Congratulations to the DCCC and all the honorees. Chevelle, let me say, I know Martha very well. I know she's extremely proud that the Hall of Fame, that the Coach of the Year is a woman. Well, and I can also say that she loves Kevin Fite. She admires him and she admires all of him. Well, my job now is to ask Mrs. Steen to stand up and to award John Brooks the first Hall of Fame award from the Detroit City Chess Club. You can give them raucous